And we are live once again here on the Cowboys Report. I am Tom Downey, producer Chris Daughtry behind the scenes for today's live show, going through all the latest on the Dallas Cowboys, from coaching staff updates to team needs to trade rumors to the Myles Garrett conversation. And we will at least mention a little bit here the Luka Doncic nonsense. Look, it's the Dallas Cowboys channel, so I did want to mention this a little bit there. One-word reaction to the Mavs, stunningly, it's a good one right there, trading away Luka Doncic, which it's a bad sign when the instant reaction from every single person was, is this fake? Did Shams get hacked? And that's what this is? Because that'd be a good hack tweet. That was unbelievably silly trade. And you got to, Jerry Jones probably like, this is great. All the anger is off us now. And that's it's all on the Mavs. It just still does not make sense to me. Trying to tell us Luka's 270 pounds. No, he's not. Look at him. No way. It's just ridiculous. YouTube Jay says, amazing as a Lakers fan. There you go. Bamboozled, stunned, shocked, all kinds of chaos. No doubt on that one. That one was that's one that I will not understand, because it just, what are you doing? You're getting older, more injury prone, and worse. How does that make any sense at all? Give me your one-word reaction to the Mavs Luka Doncic trade. Ecuador man says, could be a Hawks fan like me. Low-key, Hawks now kind of won that trade. They don't have to worry about the whole Luka Trae Young stuff anymore. It's now the Mavs shut it away. Luka. There you go. Dumb is in there as well. We got YouTube Jay, $2 super chat, says, Tom, what grade will you give Dallas with the hires? It's not over yet, so I do kind of want to monitor what else happens, but I think overall this has been a solid staff they've been building. I think at minimum, like, that should be the threshold. Otherwise, what do you it would be concerning if they weren't bringing in a good staff at all. I think so far it's been pretty solid. We'll see how things play out, but I think it is a promising staff they're putting together, at least so far. Today's live show is made possible by GameTime. GameTime is the place for last-minute tickets to your next big event. Pastor said, maybe not Cowboys games, maybe not Mavs games right now either. Those tickets are going to plummet in cost. Use the GameTime feature called GameTime Picks. It makes getting tickets for events even easier. It filters out all the fluff to only show you the incredible deals on great seats. You don't have to worry about filtering through thousands of different tickets. Download the GameTime app, create your account, use code CHATSPORTS ChatSports for $20 off your first purchase. Terms do apply. But again, create your account, redeem code CHATSPORTS ChatSports. It's also made possible, the live show is, by PrizePicks. Big game is almost here, and it's now or never. Don't miss out on the last football game, of the year with PrizePicks, the best place to win cash while watching the big game. Download the PrizePicks app today over at prizepicks.com/CLNS and use code CLNS to get $50 instantly after you play that first $5 lineup. That's prizepicks.com/CLNS and use code CLNS to get $50 instantly after that first $5 lineup is played. Now, we will talk a lot about Myles Garrett on today's show after the Welcome to Super Bowl week surprise news that Garrett has requested a trade from the Cleveland Browns. Garrett, of course, from Arlington, and has plenty of ties and once asked the Cowboys to come get him, and it never quite was able to materialize the way we all wanted it to, because it was never really in the cards, frankly. But would you trade for Myles Garrett? Y for yes, N for no. Go vote in the comment section of today's video. Y for yes, N for no. Would you trade for Myles Garrett? Get those votes. And I think we'll talk about like the feasibility, all that stuff in terms of what the math of it is, the money of it is. From a pure player perspective, it is a no-brainer. And they can make the money work. I think the bigger question is it a smart usage of how they want to make the money work and the draft capital work as well? So get those votes in. Y for yes, N for no. Let me know in the comment section of today's video. Would you trade for Myles Garrett? Get some shout outs here. Anthony says yes. Zachary says yes, but it's not happening. Danelle says no. Xavier says no. Dustin says yes. Zach, yes, but maybe not realistic. Okay. Toyo Cowboy says no. Adam says no. ADA says yes. Dustin says yes. Travis Phillips, yes. Steven says no. Name just here, but someone said Nico makes Stephen Jones look smart. Again, it's something on the Nico Harrison side. Congrats to the Jones boys for not being the worst GM in Dallas anymore. Took them like 24, literally one move, and it was all over for Nico. Let's talk coaching staff here. Of the coaching hires made so far, obviously not done yet, grade the Cowboys staff so far. A, B, C, D, or F. Let me know in the comment section of today's video. Grade that Cowboys coaching staff so far. I think you have to include the head coach in that, which might bring down the grade for some of you. But I do think things have been more solid as of late. C+, B-, B, C, B, C, B+, 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 C, A+, B+, C-, a good B. ZB+, which I think is just a B+, and the Z got typed in there on accident. B+ because of shoddy. B+, B-, B+, meh, in there from Seabass. A-, C+, with Schottenheimer. C+, B from Vic Greer. G from Luke Kovar. Good for G is what I'm going to guess there. I'm not actually sure on that front. C, A in there as well. B+, so decent spread of grades on that front. F, C, B+, A. Save Me Some has a $2 super chat. It's one of the stickers. It's blowing a kiss emoji. So thank you, Save Me Some. I appreciate that. The super chat coming in. We will get to the live show here. If you want us to get things started, like the video, please, and thank you. Free, simple, easy, and just helps us out. Helps us keep the lights on quite literally here at Chat Sports. So if you haven't already, do me a favor, like today's video. Now, coming up live, we will talk Cowboys coaching staff news and trade rumors, specifically around Myles Garrett. Different names being linked as well to the Cowboys' potential filling of the number 2 wide receiver role, which I think is a pretty big need. Speaking of needs, we'll go through the top 10 Cowboys offseason needs. And a mailbag. Get your questions in right now via hashtag Cowboys or Super Chat to skip the line altogether. Before we start talking Myles Garrett and coaching staff updates, we are 270 subs away from 208,000 here on the Cowboys Report. Help us get there. You'll get free Cowboys videos multiple times per day, each and every single day right here on the channel. Let's talk Myles Garrett then. He has requested a trade from the Cleveland Browns, specifically citing a desire to win. Said he didn't want to go from Cleveland to Canton, wanted to go to Cleveland and Super Bowl, and then, Canton in theory. Now, Garrett and the Cowboys immediately linked right away. They are the betting favorites, according to Sports Betting AG. We'll discuss that as part of the show today. I do want to go into, is this a likely trade? And I think you have a conversation if is it a smart trade to potentially make, given the way the Cowboys tend to run their organization. Now, if you were to rank the top edge rushers in football, in some order, you're going to mix in Myles Garrett, Micah Parsons, TJ Watt, probably in the top 3. Other guys, Max Crosby, Bosa get mixed in there as well. Garrett has been, at his size, an unbelievable pass rusher and a damn good run stopper as well. And I would struggle to find a better duo if you could hypothetically pair up Micah Parsons and Myles Garrett, because you'd be doing both. There's really not much reason to move on from Micah as part of the trade. He's younger. You would be pairing those two up and trying to get the best edge duo in NFL history. The biggest issue here is the cost of a trade. If the Browns actually trade Garrett, which they say they don't want to, we'll see how it plays out. There's still a lot of time before free agency gets going and the offseason gets underway. I think you'd be looking for something in the ballpark of the Khalil Mack trade. Now, Mack was a little bit younger. I think Myles Garrett a little bit better as well. Not by a lot, but by enough. That one was kind of 2 first-round picks. You've got additional movement going on there with a second going to the Bears, but it was late second, early seconds, and late third. So there was, kind of like the Jalen Ramsey trade was basically 2-1s. I think that's the rough ballpark for a hypothetical trade. So if you were to actually go get Myles Garrett and you were to beat out other NFL teams in a bidding war that might have a more premium pick, such as, say, the Bears, for example, you might have to make it 2-1s. You can throw in Sam Williams, well, since you don't really need Sam Williams at that point, and you're saving a little bit of money in the process going down that path as well. But that's a lot to give up. I don't think you're going to get lucky and have a Lakers, Mavs, Luka trade where you're just giving up one asset that really matters. So would you trade for Myles Garrett if you were the Dallas Cowboys? Why for yes and for no? Go vote the pinned comment of today's show. The ad comes here on YouTube. Take advantage of it. Head down there and go vote. The idea of trading for Myles Garrett is quite fun. This is a superstar player, and even the Cowboys will at least claim they are in the talent acquisition business, and there's not a better talent that you could realistically acquire this offseason than Myles Garrett. The feasibility of it is another conversation, though. And the money here, make no mistake, is a big factor. Garrett's current cap hit in Cleveland is $19.72 million. It's very similar to what Dallas would owe him on the cap in 2025. 2026 is $25 million. The Browns are eating $36 million. That's not really feasible. Like that they're eating extra cap hits. That's not something they really want to do. That's dangerous for the Browns. It is. And that makes it boost the contract cost. Not only that, or the trade cost. Not only that, the contract cost isn't really 19 and 25 because you're going to give Myles Garrett a new deal. He's got 2 years left, no more guaranteed money. That is going to be a move in which you have to pay him a massive contract. It would be somewhere at or above Justin Jefferson. And you'd also be paying Micah Parsons, probably above Justin Jefferson. So do we believe the Cowboys would really give, and then give the assets too, but give Micah Parsons and Myles Garrett a combined $70-ish million per year? They can absolutely do it on the cap. They have the money available. Is that, however, the best usage of limited draft capital and a finite amount of cash they are willing to spend? I'm not so sure. More on this to come, but today's show is made possible by GameTime. Download the GameTime app, create your account, and use code CHATSPORTS for $20 off your first purchase. GameTime's got a new feature. It's called GameTime Picks that makes getting tickets for events even easier. It filters out the fluff to only show you incredible deals on great seats, so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets to find the best value. Always keep an eye out for the super deal. It is the best value for any given event. You'll be able to save the most money in the process. Maybe it's no longer for a Mavs game, if we're being honest, but Stars are at least a team you can support in the Dallas area. Game Time guarantee is this. You find tickets in the same section and row for less. Game Time will credit you 110% of the difference. Download the Game Time app, create your account, and use code CHATSPORTS for $20 off your first purchase. Terms do apply. But again, create your account, redeem code CHATSPORTS, CHATSPORTS, for $20 off your first purchase. Link will be in the comments section and the description of today's show. Terms apply, but thank you to GameTime for sponsoring us here at the Cowboys Report. Now, sportsbetting.ag has put out the Myles Garrett trade odds. The Dallas Cowboys are your betting favorites to land Myles Garrett in a trade. Ladies and gentlemen, we are so back. The Cowboys are once again favored for a player that, let's be honest, they probably aren't going to trade for. The offseason is back, and this is classic nonsense on the Cowboys. Look, trading for Myles Garrett, I think all other 31 teams are like, yeah, that's something we would like to do. It's not how the Cowboys, from a realistic standpoint, though, choose to operate. If the Browns go, yes, we will trade Myles Garrett, there will be a bidding war. There will be a ton of NFL teams going, we don't have a number one edge. Let's go get a top 3 edge in the NFL. To give away multiple premium picks for a team that likes their guys and loves to draft, and giving him at least $35 million per year, I don't find that realistic for the way the Cowboys choose to operate. You can even argue Dallas is probably better off not throwing $35 million and two of its best picks, whatever it ends up looking like, at another edge rusher. It's a fun idea. I would like them to spend in general, but I think you make an argument you're better off taking the $35 million and signing 5 guys to $7 million contracts per year, which they haven't done since Brandon Carr bait. Really, that was the last time that they did that. So don't get your hopes up here. It's a fun idea. It adds talent, not against adding talent, but I think the realism factor here should be viewed as pretty low. So what is the percent chance that you think the Dallas Cowboys trade for Myles Garrett? Let me know in the comments section of today's show. There is a new running backs coach in the fold as well now as the Cowboys work through their coaching staff. Derrick Foster, who was with the Saints in the exact same role last year, joining Dallas. The Cowboys interviewed 3 coaches for this particular role. Derrick Foster, Tashard Choice, the Texas running back coach, Rashad Samples over at Oregon. Both Choice and Samples going back to the college ranks, or I should say staying in the college ranks, and maybe getting a bigger contract to stick with those teams as well. Foster has been an NFL coach before. He was the Saints running backs coach and the Chargers running backs coach for several years. Has college experience as well, was the Iowa backs coach for several seasons. So I would have loved Tashard Choice. That one was always a bit of we're aiming high, maybe don't quite get there in the end. But I don't think Foster's a bad hire necessarily either. In fact, I don't think that's the case, period. So this is the Cowboys coaching staff so far as of filming. More names to come. The big 4, your coordinators, right? Brian Schottenheimer, Matt Eberflus, Nick Sorensen, Clayton Adams. On the offensive side, we know Derrick Foster is the backs coach. Ryan Federer, Steven Shimko, Ramon Young are going to be back. I don't know what those roles are officially yet. These are their previous roles, assistant QB's coach. I wouldn't be shocked if Shimko was the QB's coach. He's got background there and is a veteran. Ramon Young back as well. Per Albert Breer, the Cowboys adding Tyquan Underwood to be the assistant wide receivers coach with, again, as of filming, no receivers coach officially hired, which makes things kind of interesting to me. And then defensively, Andre Curtis is the defensive passing game coordinator. Linebackers coach is Dave Borgonzi. Aaron Whitecotton from the Jets is the defensive line coach. And then cornerbacks coach David Overstreet also coming over from the Bears. Several more roles still to be filled out on both sides of the ball. But as for the Cowboys have so far, how do you grade this coaching staff? A, B, C, D, or F? Let me know in the comments section of today's show. I want honest answers here. Did you watch any of the Pro Bowl games? Because I didn't. I was annoyed at how many notifications I was getting from the NFL account about the Pro Bowl games. I don't care. I was bored as all get out. Did you watch any of the Pro Bowl games? Y for yes, N for no. If you did, good job. I did not. So someone told me Turpin had a good showing. Awesome. Cool. It is a everyone gets invited at the quarterback spot game these days. And the guys who want to go have fun, have fun. Since you're watching the Pro Bowl games, Y for yes, N for no, let me know in the comments section of today's show. Several super chats. The first up from Mitchell Renz. Not actually Mitchell Renz, by the way. I am impressed you're able to find one of his, I think that's his college pitching photos, or maybe his time in Germany. Sometimes I wonder why I chose to be a Browns fan. I don't know why you did. God hates Cleveland. That is a verifiable fact. You can ask any Cleveland fan about that too. Byron Joe David, he's a 12th for Garrett. Dismissed Tank Lawrence. Drafted and developed Deion Walker. Keeping Dan Quinn from Osa is going to be a problem. Look, honestly, if Osa goes to the Commanders, okay, then they'll probably cut Jonathan Allen, and I'll just sign him. Because people keep linking Osa for Washington, and that's fine. That means they're going to cut Jonathan Allen. Because they just drafted Johnny Newton in round 1. Or early round 2, excuse me. So, if they want to go down that path, fine. They're not going to pay Osa, pay Allen, and have Newton. They will move on from somebody. Which, I can just bring in Jonathan Allen. I'm fine with that, actually. Tank's contract expires in 2 weeks or something, so he'll be a free agent. If I could get just the 12th overall pick for Myles Garrett, I'm in. I feel like it's going to cost more than that. But, I do it. And Deion Walker is in my bucket of what I call scare-rousing players. In the sense that I am scared of him because he plays like he's 6'6". He plays tall. There's leverage issues there. He also doesn't move the way 6'6", like 350-pound defensive linemen are supposed to move. So he's a very unique player that I think on day 2 I'm intrigued by and also a bit scared of too. Ed, Vickers, trade for Garrett. Do something in free agency. I would like to do something in free agency. I look at, we'll talk about the need stuff here. I look at this team's needs and I go, you can't just set up free agency again. You have to go sign players. You can't just sign Eric Kendricks and say, okay, cool, we did it. That's not going to work. You have to spend more money, and you have the money to spend. Don't ever let them tell you otherwise. Tristan Dallas Nation have been dying to ask, I know it's about the Myles Garrett trade, but would you, with a first-round pick, would you take Tate Ratledge as a Zach Martin replacement? I'm not taking Tate Ratledge in round 1. I don't think he's going to go in round 1. I don't even know if he goes round 2. Now, I think you can get him. Maybe he goes between your second and third round picks potentially. And I am hesitant to spend. I think you need offensive line help, or at least better development of your offensive lineman. Maybe Clayton Adams can help there. I don't want to spend my most premium asset again on the offensive line. I've done a lot of that. You should be able to, as an organization, get good play out of non-first round picks too. I think that otherwise you're just going to keep neglecting your defensive line, your cornerback room, your receiver room, your edge. You're going to keep neglecting other areas that need an influx of talent as well. So if I can get Tate in the third, I'm in, which I think he might be there for you. We'll see. But I don't want to spend a first round pick on him, and I don't necessarily want to spend a first round pick in general on the offensive line unless the board falls a certain way where it's like, okay, this is by far your best guy. Let's just do it. I'd like to fill needs for once and just go BPA in round 1 and beyond. We get to Zach Crosby's $5 super chat as well here in a second. Then we'll get to the second segment, I should say, of today's show. Zach says, would trading for Garrett be like the primetime trade? I'm in 03, so I don't know what it's like to see a great player brought in. It's funny. Primetime was a signing, which is different because you're not giving up money and draft picks. Probably be in a similar bucket. Maybe the Amari Cooper trade. But Garrett was a better player than Amari was. Easier comp was probably like the Charles Haley one because that was the same position, which really helped you out, although Garrett is not as unique as Haley is in terms of like the off-field stuff that Haley brought. Look, you're adding an impact player. We would all be excited about it. I have my doubts that it's a very realistic proposition for the Cowboys here as they move forward. Today's Cowboys Report focuses on the wide receiver room. As we sit right now, before we get to potential free agency draft options on today's show, what is your confidence level in the Cowboys wide receiver room right now? Scale it for me from 1 to 10 in the comments section of today's show. I'm a little surprised we're doing this, but we'll do it because FanSided listed the Cowboys signing Tee Higgins as their number 1 bold prediction for the offseason. Now, make no mistake about this. Tee Higgins is one of the best NFL free agents who could potentially hit the open market this year. And if the Cowboys were to go out and get Tee Higgins, that is a rare, splashy move they haven't made in a very long time. Let's also be honest here. The Cowboys are not actually going to sign Tee Higgins. That's just not going to happen. First off, the Bengals shouldn't let Tee leave. That offense is electric with Jamar Chase and Tee Higgins. He fits well with them. They don't have a lot of good free agents otherwise. And if they do let him hit the open market, Dallas is not going to win a bidding war. There are far too many teams that lack a number 1 wide receiver. If Tee hits the open market, he's going to go for Jalen Waddle $28 million per year or more money. Dallas is not going to pay that. And frankly, I don't want to either. I don't want to spend what is going to probably end up coming to $30 million per year if Tee hits the open market, if not more, because it's free agency and it gets crazy sometimes, on my number 2 wide receiver, who does, by the way, have an injury history that you should not neglect or ignore. He's like an expensive sports car. He's awesome when he's out there, but he's often in the shop with soft tissue injuries. So the idea of Tee Higgins is super fun. The realism of it is just I don't think it's there at all. I don't even think when we do free agency lists, he's not going to be on there. I don't see any path in which it happens. I do think, though, that someone like Stefon Diggs is far more likely as a potential option for the Dallas Cowboys. Now, we will break that down in depth here in just a second, but I want to make today's pinned comment about Stefon Diggs. Would you sign him to the Cowboys organization this offseason? It is that pinned comment, so if the ad comes here on YouTube, take advantage of it. Head down there, type in Y for yes or N for no. Now, there have been a lot of different outlets linking Diggs to Dallas. I want to make this clear. Even those NFL rooms accounts, whatnot, that are garbage, it's all just ideas, speculation, theories. Blogging the boys doing the same thing. Now, they're not pretending it's not just theories, which is, I'm going to make that clear. It's fine with me. There are valid reasons for Stefon Diggs and the Dallas Cowboys getting linked. Beyond the fact that it's his brother, the Cowboys have a gaping need at wide receiver. I think that for all the years this have been rumored, it makes more sense now than ever for the Cowboys and Stefon Diggs. Diggs is coming off what, would have been around a 1,000-yard campaign had he not gotten hurt. He suffered a torn ACL. He's going to miss portion of the offseason. In theory, should be good to go by week 1. The Cowboys right now at wide receiver. We all know they need a better number 2 option. Brandon Cooks is a free agent. I don't think he's a number 2. I don't really want to bring him back because I want to force myself to get a better player. Tolbert and Mingo and Turpin, who's an RFA who should be back. Brooks and Flournoy. Does anyone here truly believe in those guys as potential number 2 wide receivers? Those guys feel like 3s. They feel like maybe they get lucky and they become more than a 3, but you're banking on stuff you haven't seen so far. So the Cowboys adding Stefon Diggs, after all these years of rumors about it, I actually don't think would be much of a surprise. The Diggs brothers get to play together at long last, and you sign Stefon Diggs coming off on a 1-year deal. Now, Stefon is coming off of a torn ACL. That should raise red flags. It also lowers in theory, the contract cost. I don't really know what Diggs is going to go for on the open market, but it's not going to be 2025. It's not going to be that much money. And we know how much the Jones boys, in particular Steven, love to win the deal. Getting that veteran number 1 receiver on a cheapish 1-year contract, that's right up their alley. We know that the number 2 receiver spot, a second playmaker opposite CeeDee Lamb, is a massive need. The Cowboys don't have enough right now in the passing game, personnel-wise. They clearly don't. Now, there are concerns here, too, beyond the medical stuff. Is Diggs on board being a secondary option? I don't really want to add a diva if I can avoid it. A lot of the great receivers have diva-esque tendencies. That's fine. I don't, though, want to just have drama in my locker room if I can avoid it. So a lot of this does come down in the end to the money. What does a Stefon Diggs contract look like? I don't really know. I'm not really sure what it looks like because of the injury and because of a questionable wide receiver free agency market. So we'll see. But I do think more so than previous years, the Stefon Diggs rumors, which are not going to go away anytime soon, make some sense for the Dallas Cowboys. Today's show is made possible by PrizePicks. The big game is almost here. It's now or never. Do not miss out on the last football game of the season with PrizePicks. It is the best place to win cash while watching the big game. PrizePicks is also giving away a free pick for it. It is Patrick Mahomes, more than a half passing yard. It's a no-brainer. You should put it in all of your PrizePicks slate, even the ones that are basketball-focused. You win real cash if you just get one other stat projection correct. This is my 3-man PrizePicks slate. Got the free square Mahomes, more than a half passing yard. Saquon Barkley, more than rushing yards. And I like the idea of a Xavier Worthy reverse in this game, more than 5.5 yards on the ground. So download the PrizePicks app today. Use code CLNS to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. That link will be in the comment section and the description of today's show. It's prizepicks.com/CLNS. Use that code CLNS to get $50 instantly, win or lose, after you play that first $5 lineup. One more time, it's prizepicks.com/CLNS and use code CLNS. Sticking with the remainder of our wide receiver conversation today, Tony Pauline, who is, I will say, is hit and miss as a reporter, does have sources out there, but it's not always spot on the same way the other big media names are. He reports the Cowboys will look to draft a receiver in the first 2 rounds this year. That's what he said he had been told. Now, part of this is, okay, logically this tracks, right? Getting a number 2 option at wide receiver is a must this offseason. You got a lot of things you need to do. This is one of them. So if you don't sign a Stefon Diggs or someone like that in free agency, this makes sense to me. Maybe it's a first 2 days selection. Maybe you get lucky and find someone in the 3rd round. But I think if we get to June, I'll give you extra time afterwards to see maybe injury stuff, whatnot. If you get to June and your number 2 receiver is Jalen Tolbert, I don't think that's a good plan. I don't think that's enough talent at the wide receiver spot. So how do you think the Cowboys will address wide receiver? Found a new way to use it. D, T, or F in the comments section. D for draft, T for trade, F for free agency. Let me know in the comments section of today's show. Let's talk some of these wide receiver draft options then. These 5 names, not all of them will get to you in round 1, but they probably won't get to you in round 2 either. Now, you're not going to get Travis Hunter. We know that. T-Mac, Tedroya McMillan, probably doesn't get to you, but that'd be fun. I think there's a real chance Luther Burden, Emeka Buka, and Matthew Golden are all there, and basically a 0% chance they get to you at 44. Even Golden, I think, goes before you're on the clock in round 2. So could you get one of those guys in round 1? Could a trade down and taking one of those guys be in the cards for Dallas this year? It's worth mentioning. And then if you don't take one in round 1, there are options for you on day 2. 2nd round, 3rd round. We'll see how the board shakes out for these guys, but I wouldn't be shocked if all these guys have a real chance of going top 100. All 10 probably don't, but there is the possibility of these guys going early. Depends on which one. Do you want that bigger body receiver? Alec Ayomador from Stanford, Jack Bash from TCU, Trey Harris from Ole Miss, fit that mold. Do you want the slot receiver? Xavier Restrepo kind of fits that. I think Jalen Royals out of Utah State could do a bit of both. Savion Williams is very fun. That's a unique player that I think you might have to scheme for a little bit. Do you trust Schottenheimer to do that? Isaiah Bond, Tez Johnson have great speed with maybe some concerns with the lack of size, especially for Tez Johnson there. Jaden Higgins, Joe Noel from Iowa State had very good seasons as well. There are options for you at wide receiver. You also don't want to have to make sure you pick one no matter what, and maybe you can find someone in free agency too. Now, when the Cowboys make moves, we will have a video for you. Hit that sub button. It's youtube.com/@CowboysTV for multiple Cowboys videos each and every single day. Mailbag time here on the show. I'm going to sip some water here. Then we'll get to, we'll put Ecuador man, Ty Douglas, and Mason 4-1 into the, for the mailbag portion. We'll put those super chats in there. Got some super thanks we got to get to as well. So if you haven't already, hit that hashtag Cowboys feature. So, use hashtag Cowboys in the comments or super chat as well. If you want to skip the line altogether and jump that line up and get on the show no matter what. So again, 2 options for you here. Hashtag Cowboys, skip the line altogether via super chat. That's all coming up here next and live on the Dallas Cowboys Report. We got a super thanks to begin today's mailbag from CJ DeYoung III. The Joneses ain't doing blank in free agency, and they sure as heck aren't going to trade away a pick. Thank you. That was kind of fit pretty well with, this wasn't about Myles Garrett, but it also applies to Myles Garrett, frankly. CJ also says you guys to stop teasing Jerry in his Hall of Fame jacket. Doesn't deserve that honor. I like putting the Jerry Jones thumbnail with him in his Hall of Fame jacket. It's this one. Yeah, great job, Chris. I use this one because isn't that face very punchable? I don't know, it just roused me up, and I'll punch that guy in the face. And the hair is actually normal for a thumbnail too, which I like. Anyway, I get it though. I get it. These all came in via super thanks. It's a feature on YouTube. Lets you donate outside of live videos like you do with a super chat. It's a super thanks. Edit your message, send in whatever, even if it's anti-me, anti-Cowboys. Just don't commit an ism. We'll put you on the show. Get those super thanks in. From Empire We Are, objective observation. Even before the leg injury, Dak was slow and borderline immobile. He's a decent pocket passer, but will need a top-tier offensive line. So, should offensive line be the biggest priority? So I do get where you're coming from here. I would say this too. This is a player who does a good job in general managing the pocket. I think to an extent, some of the just running stuff was overblown. Even when Dak was running more before his ankle, the difference was like 1 or 2 plays per game. Now, I think the biggest issue you ran into last year, which ties into the offensive line concerns, is this organization from head coach to quarterback to play calling, all of it together, they did not trust the offensive line. That's why they were doing so many sprint outs. The sprint out is a play, if you got a non-mobile quarterback, that's a non-running QB. That is a we don't trust our offensive line play call. So I think that kind of trickled down. And I think there were times he just didn't trust what he had in the offensive line. So I think getting better trust, getting better play out of your offensive line should be a big priority. I thought they played better down the stretch this past year. You had a bunch of young guys on the offensive line. Another year should help them out. From Marcus, what is there to think about? You don't franchise about Oso Diggs, by the way. Don't franchise the tag of DT. Give him his 5-year, $60 million contract and move on. If you want to use the tag, use it on Tank. Or don't use it all and trade for Myles Garrett. Now, I don't think Tank is franchise tag eligible because his contract voids actually like the 15th, I want to say. I could double check that here. I should have had that written down beforehand. I don't know if $12 million is enough for Oso Digizua, but I do agree with the overall premise here. I don't think franchise tagging Osa makes sense because you're just limiting your spending and probably paying more than he should. Yes, Lawrence's contract voids February 17th, technically speaking, so can't franchise tag him. Timing doesn't work out that way. Or yeah, go trade for Garrett, and we're all hyped about it, right? Nathan Neal of this guy won't be there when we pick players in the draft. Who is most likely to be there? And what would you do with a pick if someone falls? I actually love this question a lot. This is one of the, I think, favorite ones I've had. I think there's a real chance Genty's there, so I'm not going to put him in this conversation. So for me, it kind of becomes like, okay, Abdul Carter's not going to be there, barring disastrous beer bong leaks, or not beer bong, but gas mask leaks. Hunter's not going to be there. I don't think Mason Graham's there. I don't know if tight end counts Tyler Warren. The name that I came up with was, I think it's Ted McMillan out of Arizona. I don't know if it gets to you. This is the CeeDee Lamb scenario all over again. And if he were there, I would just take him. Like, cool, I got a top 10 player on my board at number 12. And I'd be excited I got a bigger body on the outside too. Does he get there? Well, reason why it's this guy won't be there, right? So keeping it somewhat realistic, because I love Abdul Carter, which is not going to happen. Who is your ideal round 1 NFL draft pick? Let me know at the pinned comment of today's show. Ecuador man AOG. OSU left tackle Josh Simmons is the best left tackle in the draft. How can you pass 12? I think there's 2 reasons why you could do it. Now, I will say, I think if healthy, you can make the argument he is. The first one is that he's not healthy. He's coming off a torn ACL. That is a red flag. The second one is we're really taking Josh Simmons off of a 6-ish game sample size where he played App State, Western Michigan, Marshall did not face Mike Green, Michigan State, Iowa, and Oregon, where it was the one game he actually kind of got beat in protection more than anything. So I like him. I am also a bit worried that, like, we never really saw him against the top-end competition. That I think the stuff he did against not great pass rushers was really good. But I would be hesitant to just lock him in first round if there's someone else I think is a better player on board, which I think there might end up being. Ty Douglas, trade for Garrett Wilson and draft Genty. Here's my question. How am I getting both guys? Because I would be surprised, outright confused, if the Jets were willing to trade away Garrett Wilson for anything less than a first-round pick. If they were, I am offering my second-round pick yesterday. I will happily, I can't draft my second-rounder anyway. I will move that second-round pick and take Garrett Wilson and then draft Genty, and I'm feeling really good about that stuff. So I like Garrett. Garrett Wilson's awesome. I think he'd be a really good addition for the Cowboys. I don't know if you could get him without giving up that first-round pick right now. Today's show is made possible by GameTime. GameTime is the place for last-minute tickets to your next big event. Download the GameTime app and use the GameTime Picks feature. It makes getting tickets for events even easier. It filters out all the fluff to only show you incredible deals on great seats. So you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets to find the best value. Always keep an eye out for the super deal. It is the best value for any given event. Go to a Stars game. And hockey games in person are the best. There's no better, very few better sporting experiences than getting to watch a hockey game close. Just a different atmosphere. I don't know how many of us want to go to Mavs games anymore. Kind of feel bad for AD because like no one likes him and it's not even his own fault. That's how it goes. But those tickets are gonna price drop significantly now because there's no more Luka there. Download the GameTime app, create your account, use code CHATSPORTS for $20 off your first purchase. Now, terms do apply. Again, create your account, redeem code CHATSPORTS, CHATSPORTS for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. But again, download the GameTime app today for last-minute tickets. Lowest price guaranteed. Mason 41. Is it realistic that Brian builds around Dak? Dak is a great quarterback. Brian's confident in him. If he gets Stefon, that's a hit. I don't know what other options he has other than to build around Dak Prescott. I don't think if you're trying to be remotely competitive the next few years, that's your option. What I would do is I would be aggressive in this little 4-year window you've got set up here, and then I'd be like, okay, it worked, great. It didn't. Shoot. Let's actually reset and rebuild. I honestly don't care about the 2029 cap hit. I don't care about it. Who cares? That's when I want to rebuild anyway, if it doesn't work out. So I think that's the only option. Now, does he successfully build around Dak Prescott? We'll see. Front office got some influence there too. Steven, what under-the-radar free agents you think the Cowboys will go after, if any? It's a good question. We will have a full list of top free agents, so stay tuned. That will have some under-the-radar names on there. One name that stands out to me is on both sides of the ball, lesser names. I think Will Hernandez stands out. That was a guy the Cowboys literally like coming out of, I think it was UTEP. For Hernandez. And he, of course, knows Clayton Adams very well from their time together in Arizona. And I think Hernandez had some of his best play over in Arizona. So that certainly is it was UTEP, by the way, a big deal there. The Bears have a couple free agents. I could see the Cowboys doing something that many of us have mentioned before of like, hey, maybe now is the time to go get Andrew Billings. Like there are some free agents that are going to hit the Chicago market. I think another name beyond Andrew Billings, I'm pretty sure is a free. I'll have to double check that one. Byron Cowart had his best year in Chicago. Now the bar is pretty low, but I think that could be a cheap option that knows this new coaching staff pretty well. But again, we will do a full list of all the different guys that stand out from that metric. And no, I'm sorry, Billings has one more year on his deal, so scratch that one. But it could be a trade candidate for Dallas too. Steven GX, what is the dumbest thing possible that Jerry Jones could do during this draft? I am hesitant to answer because I don't want to give him any ideas. In terms of like the process of it, do something. Here it is. Just completely ignore a position again. Don't re-sign Rico and don't draft a back. Lose Osa, don't sign a DT, don't draft anybody. I think that's the dumbest thing you could possibly do. Well, the Jones boys use tariffs as an excuse in free agency. The fans pay it, right? That's how it works. It's funny though. They'll come up with it. They'll say some BS about it's not tariffs, but they will say we got that Tyler Smith deal coming down the pipeline. We got that Deron Bland deal coming down the pipeline. Evan, thoughts on the Micah Zayflower shaded from Bleacher Report? So this was, I thought it was so stupid I didn't really want to do it as part of the show today, the live show today. Bleacher Report was like, let's do AD for Luka Doncic S trade packages. So it was like Micah for Zay Flowers, a 1, and Kyle Van Noy, which, much like the Luka trade, is very stupid. So my thoughts are that it's dumb, and it doesn't make any sense to me. So will the Cowboys, just in general, this offseason, make a trade? Y for yes, N for no. From Jace, would Tyler Warren be a better pick than Genty if we re-sign Dowdle? I want to get it back no matter what. You could have if you're going running backs, tight ends, like round 1, round 3, like is Genty and Gunnar Helm a better combination than Warren and Henderson, Trayvon Henderson, or someone, which maybe doesn't get to the third round anyway. Maybe Elijah Arroyo or tight end too, instead of Helm. Is that a better combination? Maybe. I'm going to have Genty ahead of Warren on my board, but if either guy's there, and I bet at most one is, probably would be the best player on my board. Steven, Cowboys give Cleveland D-Law a 2nd and a 6th and a 4. You can't trade Tank Lawrence. He's a free agent, so that's a non-starter. A future 1 amounts to a 2 this year. I think you got to bump. I don't think you're getting Myles Garrett without at least giving up your first-round pick this year. I think that is the threshold at minimum to make that deal happen. Mason, how do you feel about the coaching staff so far? It's off to a good start. I wouldn't say it's perfect. I don't think any coaching staff is going to be perfect. But I think if you were looking for reasons to kind of feel more optimistic about this team, I think the coaching staff is getting in that direction. There have been several moves I liked, stuff I'm concerned about, but it's not a dud of a staff as far as I'm concerned. Now, if you enjoyed our Cowboys mailbags, thank you. Hit that sub button right now. Zach, here's a draft question. Why is everyone so high on Travis Hunter? He isn't the best receiver. He's not the best corner. So why so high? Thanks. Well, I think he is the best receiver, and I think he is the best corner in this class. I like Will Johnson a lot. Jahdae Barron's one of my guys at corner. I like Ted McMillan a lot, but Travis Hunter was legitimately an All-American caliber receiver and an All-American caliber corner at the same time. That doesn't happen very much. So if you specialize him, you think you have a number 1 receiver or a number 1 corner. And if you specialize him and give him 15 snaps at receiver or D, whichever one he's not playing full time, that's got a lot of value. So I think this is the closest we've seen to a Deion Sanders type of player. We got to this one earlier from Zach Crosby about the tariffs. I guess Chris found it really funny. I guess you really enjoyed that particular super chat there. Eddie Spaghetti, any free agent backs you consider to be your RB1? You can look at the list, and the list is like maybe 5 deep. Aaron Jones is a free agent. I think he's very good. Rico Dowdle's a free agent. Javonte Williams, Najee Harris, and J.K. Dobbins. It's not like whoever you're adding there, because Jones is getting up there in age. He's 31 now. Dowdle is a bit of a one-year wonder. Najee Harris is going to get you 4 yards per carry every single year. That's who he is. Dobbins has injury history. Javonte's been a bit of a disappointment. I think those are 1As or maybe even just 1Bs. So I'm down to bring back Rico. I'm also drafting somebody too. From All Is Well, what are the chances of us getting Aaron Donald out of retirement? 0. There is no chance. You're not going to be able to make that one happen. Sorry to be the bearer of bad news there. Frank, would you draft a quarterback like Jalen Milroe early? No, I wouldn't. In part because I don't think they're good. I don't want to. I always feel mean to college kids. I don't like this quarterback class. Like Shedeur and Cam Ward will go top 10. I think they're really more second-round players anyway. So I'm spending, I think like Milroe and Dart and Howard, those are 4th-round guys, late day 2, early day 3. I'm not taking one of those guys to be a backup insurance option when I've got so many other needs. Now, if one of those guys gets to you in the 5th or 6th round, okay, we can have that conversation. I'm not taking one early, though, because I don't think they're worth it, and I got bigger issues here. So would you draft a quarterback at all this year? 1 for yes, 0 for no. Karma Gaming, Restrepo in the 2nd or 3rd round. I would not be opposed to it. I like his game. I think he is a fun, impactful wide receiver. The biggest issue I run into here is I don't know if he can really play on the outside. He might just be a slot-only receiver, and I want to continue to use Lamb in the slot a lot, so I'd like to have someone that can play on the outside too. Cameron Palmer, $5. I took the time with the Cowboys, but I'm back now. Got to sit on the coaching staff so far. Thanks for all you do here. Again, I think the staff side of it under Schottenheimer has been pretty solid so far. Still a long way to go, and I think it's for a lot of people to fully buy back into the Cowboys organization. Dallas got off the schneid a little bit because even Jerry Jones and Stephen Jones weren't dumb enough to trade Luka Doncic for as little as they got. That was a mind-boggling trade for me. Give me your one-word reaction to the Mavs trading away Luka Doncic. Because I just don't get it, man. I just, like the logic of, we were worried about his conditioning. Fat, drunk, and smoking hookah Luka is a 33-9-9 player who rolls out of bed every night and does that crap. Just, who cares? Who was it that was Rosillo saying he can smoke a cigar mid-game? I don't care. Let him. He's awesome. So stupid. And this is clearly, I think that this is the reality for Nico Harrison. He just likes big men. Remember, he prioritized JaVale McGee over Jalen Brunson years ago. I feel bad. I think the play you saw from the Mavs last night was indicative of, we are just checked out. And I get that they are down players as well, that they didn't have a full allotment there. But it was 91 to whatever it was at the half. 144 to 101. And the Mavs outscored the Cavs down in the second half of action. They were just I think that was a bit of a demoralized team right there. 91 in the first half. It's unbelievable. They almost beat the Mavs in one quarter of action. Mavs scored 101. I feel bad for J. Kidd too. He looked like he just didn't want to be there for that press conference. He just looked like he didn't want to be there. It's just I get that Mavs team was incredibly undermanned, but come on. Pro basketball player still. Couldn't stop a nosebleed. One-word reaction. Let me know in the comments section of today's show as we will get set up for the final segment of today's live show. Drew DTX, we will get to your super chat after this segment. On today's Cowboys Report, we're breaking down the top needs for the Cowboys this offseason. Now, we're going to rank them as well, 1 to 10. We are only doing positions. So as much as so many of us would put owner, GM, both as the top need, I am focusing on the roster for this one. And you'll notice as we go through this, almost every single position in some capacity is listed on here. And that should tell you one thing. The Dallas Cowboys must actually do something in free agency, or it's not going to matter how good the current roster is or the coaching staff ends up being. They have to add more talent and more depth. Now, if you want the Cowboys to be active for one time in NFL free agency, show it by liking the video right now. Let's begin at number 1. I think there's a couple different spots you can argue here. I'm going to put defensive tackle on this list. Oso Odighizuwa is a free agent, so I can't count him right now as someone who is on the roster and guaranteed to be back. So I look at this team and I go, I got one at most NFL caliber defensive tackle right now. And that's Mazi Smith, who I would like to make my number 4 defense tackle or number 3 defensive tackle, not make him the number 1 guy. That's not what I want. If I lose Osa, I got 0 playable 3 techniques. For our team that is going to need a damn good 3 technique in Matt Eberflus's system, I need a starter and I need 1 or 2 depth pieces at minimum at this position group. Number 2 is running back. And again, you can't count the current guys under contract, so I can't include Rico Dowdle. So I've got Deuce Vaughn as my number 1 back. I think at minimum you need to add 1 new back to this roster, and it's 2 potentially if you end up losing Rico Dowdle. You have Deuce Vaughn. Hunter Luepke is the fullback. Malik Davis is on the team right now as a futures deal player, but that's like a running back 5 if we're being honest. So I look at what you have under contract at running back and defense tackle, and I go, help is needed here. Help is really needed here. Of these 2 spots, what is the bigger need for the Dallas Cowboys? RB or DT? Go vote the pinned comment of today's show. Number 3 is wide receiver. And I would not be surprised if come draft time in some order, these are your first 3 picks. I think finding a number 2 wide receiver to help CeeDee Lamb, Dak Prescott, and the rest of the offense is a must this offseason. I don't really want to bring back Brandon Cooks because I don't want to lock myself into the same receiving core as last year. I know they moved the 4th-round pick for Jonathan Mingo. I don't really care. It's not good enough. He hasn't done anything yet. He's an unknown quantity still. Jalen Tolbert is who he is. Like, he's probably just a 3. Turpin is a fun gadget guy. He can't be an actual number 2 for you, though. Jalen Brooks, Ryan Flournoy, those are back-of-the-roster guys right now. You need to get a legitimate number 2 receiver on this team. Number four is cornerback, by the way. And again, you're running into some similar issues here with other spots. Jordan Lewis is a free agent. I don't know who your nickel corner would be if the season began today. And Stefon Diggs is coming off an injury. So I think from an underrated level, this is probably a pretty significant need for the Dallas Cowboys. We can go to the depth chart here, and you'll see that there's just not enough proven talent in this cornerback. Yeah, there are bodies, but some of them are free agents as well. You know, Kalen Carson missed time, didn't play a lot this year. You know, Lewis is a free agent. If he's not back with Izzy Mukuamu, a free agent, your nickels, come on, Hall. Under contract right now is Diggs, Bland, Carson, Butler, Pride, Andrew Booth, come on, Hall. That's a lot of CB4s on that team. Now, today's show is made possible by PrizePicks. It is the best place to get real money sports action. With over 10 million members and billions of dollars in awarded winnings, PrizePicks has made daily fantasy sports accessible to all. You pick more or less on at least 2 players for a shot to win up to 1,000 times your cash. Run your game all season long on PrizePicks. The big game is almost here, and it's now or never. Do not miss out on the last football game of the season with PrizePicks. They are giving you a free square. I've used it in every single one of my PrizePicks lineups, not just the football ones, but the basketball ones, because it's the freebie. There's no reason not to do it. More than a half passing yard from Holmes is the free square. Just put it in. Payne's going to put Saquon Barkley more than yards on the ground there, too. And Xavier Worthy, more than rushing yards at 5.5, too. Download the PrizePicks app today and use code CLNS to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. That's prizepicks.com/CLNS and use code CLNS to get $50 instantly after you play that first $5 lineup. Number 5 is the offensive line. And this one is, I think, an underrated need element for the Cowboys. And I think part of this is maybe it's not even the need of getting talent. It's the need of figuring out what your plan is. I think that is almost as important as getting more talent. What do you want to do with your offensive line? Because if you had to play a game right now, you know, Brock Hoffman's an ERFA, he should be back. You could get by playing Guyton, Smith, and Hoffman/Bass and Beebe and Steele. The Cowboys did that last year. You should be able to get by if you want to do that. Do you want to? Valid question. Can Richards be your 7th offensive lineman? Maybe. Can you find a good value piece to help start for you? If you cut Terrence Steele, this need changes significantly as well. Number 6 is edge rusher. Now, look, Micah Parsons carries this unit. It carries it. He is a damn good football player. But there are 3 pending free agents who may or may not return to the Cowboys organization. You have to add impact here. Right now you have Micah. Awesome. We'll see about Sam Williams coming back from injured reserve. Don't know how that's going to go. He's coming off the ACL tear. You need to get more from Marshawn Kneeland, a significant amount more out of Marshawn Kneeland than what you got this past season. Chauncey Golston, Carl Lawson, and Tank are all free agents. So will you be able to add another piece? You have to. But it's not a number 1 piece maybe. That's why it's a little bit further down the needs list. So what do you think is the biggest need for the Dallas Cowboys? Let me know in the comments section of today's show. Go back to more needs. I want to get to some super chats here as well. Would you trade for Myles Garrett, though? Y for yes, N for no. Let me know in the comment section of today's show. I'm going to message you real quick. I messed it up. Would you trade for Myles Garrett? Y for yes, N for no. It is that pinned comment of today's show. Or number 7, I should say. And then just kind of scrap special teams. Y for yes, N for no. It is the pin poll, by the way. It's a fun idea. I think there are very real challenges that you kind of end up running into here in terms of identifying and figuring out how you make it work and how you should make it work as well. Like, what's the proper value for Myles Garrett? And does that fit what you're looking for in the organization? Does that work? Is it worth spending $35 million per year and giving up multiple assets? That is something I'm not too sure on. All right, Drew DTX, a $10 super chat. Bummed about no Tashar, but I'm going with Foster. Hypothetically, if we draft Bergen at 12, is it almost certain we sign a draft back in the 2nd or 3rd round? Also, where are my Roy Williams enjoyers at? Love you, Tom. Follow up, which Roy Williams, the safety or the wide receiver? The safety was fun. The wide receiver was not so much. I think if you take Burden, cool. I'm down with that. I think that'd be a good pick. If you, in the event that you take a receiver or just go non-running back in round 1, period, regardless of who it is, I think day 2 you are kind of setting yourself where you have to make sure you get it back because you don't have a 4th round pick. You don't have the ability to wait unless you go trade up for one. So with the way the board should fall, doesn't always fall that way. We've seen that before where it didn't quite fall the way it was supposed to. I do think there's a real possibility that the Cowboys would take it back, whether it's a Henderson. There's a lot of really strong ones in this year's class. There's a lot of good backs this year. It would not surprise me to see Dallas taking a back in the 2nd or 3rd round if they don't go Genty in round 1. And I think if it's not Genty in round 1, it doesn't really make sense to not go down that path anyway. All right, $5 from Nick. Really like Scattaboo. What do you think? Unique player. Let's start with that. You can do DMO as the photo. Overshown. It depends on what you want out of your back. Like, honestly, I think if you re-sign Rico Dowdle, I don't know if Scattaboo actually fits as well in Dallas. That kind of becomes, both those guys are more power runners. They're not the explosive, twitchy guy I think that you would like to have as a pairing. Like, it's not going to happen. Like, a dream pairing is Henderson and Scattaboo. Scattaboo's the power guy, and Henderson is the explosive runner. Like, I think that works really well. But depends on what Dallas does. If they don't have a running back, period, going into the draft, I'm far more intrigued by him. If they go and re-sign Rico, I don't know if that's as good of a fit, frankly. But I do like him. He is a guy that is consistently overachieved. I think is actually a positive thing in the NFL. So, any more super chats to come in, feel free to keep on sending them, but we're going to head back to the offseason needs here for the Dallas Cowboys. Number 7 is linebacker, and this is probably more of a, hopefully, short-term need than it is a long-term need for the Dallas Cowboys. DeMarvin Overshown is going to miss some time coming off the injury, but he looked really good before he got hurt. I thought Maurice Leafau showed some good things as well. Those could be your 2 starters long-term in a nickel-heavy defense under Matt Eberflus. It's everything else, your other week 1 starter if Overshown can't go, because I don't want it to be Damone Clark. We've tried that. He's a cut-and-trade candidate, by the way. It is the depth sprinkled in throughout the roster at linebacker that I have questions about. So I think short-term, sign a veteran, spend a day 3 pick or 2. I think you could kind of lock up that need. Number 8 is safety. And for now, you're okay if you wanted to be. Wanye Thomas is an exclusive rights free agent. Marquise Bell's an RFA. You have Malik Hooker and Donovan Wilson under contract. But this need could jump up significantly if you were to cut one of Malik Hooker and or even Donovan Wilson. because there's not a lot of depth behind this group. And you can almost guarantee they'll be adding safeties at minimum when it comes in via the undrafted free agency process. This is a team that hasn't always invested heavily in the safety room, but if you can find an impact guy and you move on from Hooker and or Wilson, I would not say no to it. At a minimum, depth is needed. Now, are you a true Cowboys fan? If you are, this is the exact type of video you're watching, frankly. Hit that sub button so you don't miss out. YouTube.com/CowboysTV. Number 8 is the backup quarterback room. Dak's starter. That's not going to change. I know some of you don't like it. Sorry. But Cooper Rush and Trey Lance are both free agents. We will see whomst among those two, one, both, neither are back. That would solidify the short-term need. And also, Dak Prescott does turn 32 this year. He has an injury history. You need to have a backup QB. And maybe you don't find someone in a QB class that I don't like very much. But if you can find a guy to develop like you tried to do with Trey Lance, it's an option as well. And then number 10, I'm ignoring special teams because that counts, but punter and long snapper are low priorities for me. Final spot here is tight end, where you have bodies right now. If you had to enter week 1 with the guys you have under contract, that's fine, actually. You can bank on a Jake Ferguson bounce back year, Luke Schoonmaker continuing to grow, Brevin Spanford being a tight end 3. Maybe John Stevens stays healthy. Princeton Fant can be a tight end 3 for you. A lot of this comes down to, do you trust Ferguson and or Schoonmaker to have a better season? If you do, great. Then you probably feel fine. This is kind of a elite level impact guy. It's on like a premium pick or addition, or you just let things ride out with what you have and hope that things look better in 2025. All right, back to the pinned comment here. Would you trade for Myles Garrett? Why for yes and for no? Let me know in the comment section of today's show. Would you trade for Myles Garrett? 81% voting yes on the pinned poll today. We will have another live show for you on Thursday, as we often do, and then it's the Super Bowl on Sunday. We'll be cheering for the asteroid to hit and win. Hit that sub button so you don't miss out. YouTube.com/ChatSportsTV.